Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Michael and today I'm going to share with you my broccoli and cheddar soup. This could not be any easier and it comes together fairly quickly. So let's get started prepping our vegetables. We've got a little bit of work to do with that. So we've got the star of the show today. We've got some broccoli here and I've got three crowns of broccoli. If you want to add less or more, you can. This is what I like so much about making things at home is you can add as much or as little as you like. So I've got three of these crowns here, and what we want to do with these is you want to cut these into bite-sized pieces, something that you can get on a spoon. So we'll kind of cut those up just a little bit there, and these ones like this, we're going to cut these in two. And these will cook down some too as well, so definitely keep that in mind when you're cutting up your broccoli, that they will cook down a little bit. And we'll take a little bit off the bottom there. And we'll put those to the side. I'm going to continue to work on these and I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now that we've got our broccoli cut up now, I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side and we'll start working on another one of our ingredients here. I've got one stalk of celery and I'm going to cut that up too as well for my soup. And I've just kind of cut that into thirds and we want this cut into little pieces as well, about the size of what you would dice your onion with. I really like the flavor that a celery adds to a soup. So I've got a couple of carrots here and we're going to cut these up. And first I'm going to go ahead and peel these. You don't have to peel them if you don't want to. I've cut the bottoms off of them and I've given them a good wash, but just give them a peel if you'd like. All right, now that we've got our carrots peeled, I'm going to go ahead and chop these up. I'm going to cut it in half. And the bigger part on the bottom here, I'm going to cut that into quarters because we want little bite-sized pieces that we can get on our spoon. And we'll chop those up in fairly small pieces. All right, I've got my carrots cut up now. Now let's start working on our onion. We're going to take this. This is a fairly large size onion, so a little bit bigger than a medium size. And I'm going to cut that in half. We're going to cut up half of that and we'll mince it down. And we're going to take that outer skin off of it. And we're going to give this a fine dice. And remember, when it gets down to less than half, you can flip it over on its side and mince it that way. All right, now that we've got our onion chopped up, I've got a couple of cloves of garlic here that I'm just going to mince up finely. And we'll take that outer skin off of it. All right, we've got all of our vegetables prepped now, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my little stovetop here. I'm going to turn this on about a medium and get that heated up. And then I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and we'll add that in, and we want that to melt down. All right, now that we've got our butter melted, let's go ahead and add our onions, our carrots, and our celery into our Dutch oven here. And we're going to cook these until the onions themselves become a translucent color or just a little bit on the tender side. And just give that a good stir around. This should take maybe 3 to 5 minutes. If you wanted to use oil in this, you could definitely use that instead of the butter. I just like the flavor that the butter gives to the soup. All right, my onions have become translucent now, so we're going to go ahead and now we're going to add our garlic. You don't want to put the garlic in when you put the other ingredients in because garlic has a tendency to want to try to burn, and we only want to cook this for about a minute. So continually keep stirring that around. We don't want to let that garlic sit in one place. And if you like garlic like I do, you can add more to it, or if you don't like it, you can definitely leave that out. But I really like the way that little bit of that fragrance comes through in the soup. But definitely if you like more, add more to it. Now I've got a 1/4 cup of flour, and we're just going to kind of add that in a little bit at a time. That's roughly about 4 tablespoons. And this is going to thicken our soup up some at the end there. So we're going to add that in slowly and just kind of keep stirring that around because we don't want that to get a lot of lumps in there. So by adding it slowly, you kind of control that. And we want to cook that for about a minute or two just to cook off that taste of that raw flour and get that incorporated in there for our stock. So now we're going to add 4 cups of chicken stock. And if you've got homemade stock, definitely use that. This is just store-bought stock that I got here, and I'm going to put in 4 cups. Now that we've got our chicken stock in, I'm going to add in 2 cups of heavy cream. Now, if you don't have a heavy cream, you can definitely put half and half or milk, whatever you've got. I really like the texture that the 2 cups of my heavy cream gives to it. It's going to actually make it nice and rich and give us a nice soup at the end. So 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, or like I said, you can use half and half or milk. All right, so now we're going to bring this up to a simmer, and we want to add a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to wait on my salt because I did buy a commercial chicken stock, and that typically has a lot of salt in it. So if you have your own homemade and you didn't put any salt in it, then definitely go ahead and add your salt and pepper at this point. I'm going to go ahead and put some pepper in it, and then I'm going to give it a taste here in just a minute when it comes up to a simmer to see if I need to add any salt. But now we want to season to taste. All right, my soup has now come up to a simmer, and now we're going to add in our broccoli. We'll just put those in just like that. And I'm going to turn this down to low because all we want to do now is we just want to make sure that our broccoli gets tender. So I'm going to put the lid on it here, and we'll check on this in about 10 minutes. And I'm going to come back in about 5 and just stir it again and check on it in about 10 minutes to see where your broccoli is. Now you want it to cook to a taste and tenderness where you like the broccoli. So maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll check it and we'll see what that looks like. All right, I'm back and it's been 10 minutes now. It's still not quite where I want it to be. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. And at this point now, I'm going to test it for seasoning to see if I need to add any salt and pepper. So definitely taste it now to see if you need to add any more seasoning to it. And then we're going to continue to let that cook. All right, I did taste my soup and it does need a little bit more salt. So I'm going to put just a little bit of salt in it. And I'm going to put just a little bit more pepper in it. Give that a nice stir around so that that seasoning gets mixed in there together. We're going to put the lid back on it, and now we're going to work on our cheese. So I've got 8 ounces of cheese here, and I've got a box grater. I'm going to be using the smaller grating on this because the smaller the grating you'll get on it, the easier it will be to melt when we get ready to put into our soup. And I always say, if you can buy it, buy the whole cheese like this and then shred it, because the bagged cheese, they do put a product on it, a cellulose product that keeps it from sticking, and it also kind of keeps it from wanting to melt as easily as it does if you just shred it yourself. So 8 ounces of cheese. If you want to add a little bit more, you definitely can. And I'm going to use the smaller holes on this to grate this cheese up. I am back and I got my cheese grated up. I did put a glove on just for my own safety measure on that. When you get down to that last little sliver of that cheese as you're grating that up on these box cutters, you definitely don't want to catch a finger on that. So definitely, if you've got the gloves, use one of those. All right, so now that we've got the cheese all grated up, I did test my soup again, and I went back and added about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So definitely at this point, this is where you want to test it again for the last bit of your seasoning. If you want to add anything else to it, this is the time to do it. If you want to put some garlic powder in it, onion powder, salt, pepper, whatever you want to put in it, now's the time to do that. So I'm going to take it off the heat now. So now we want to add in our cheese. You want the soup to be off, and we're going to add the cheese in. And the reason that we grated it up as small as we did is because we want to be able to get it to melt very easily in our soup. So we'll just continue adding all of our cheese until we get it incorporated. The cheese is now melted in our soup, and I wanted to show you what that looks like. I'm going to put the cover back on it so we keep that warm in there. Basically, our soup is done. Now I wanted to show you another way that we can do to have our soup. So this is a bread. This is a sourdough bread, and you can actually just take the top off of it, and we'll just take a bread knife and just kind of cut the top off of it. You don't want to throw these away. This is absolutely delicious. And then you want to go in there with your hand and just dig out you a little well that you'll be able to put your soup in. And you definitely don't want to throw that away. We're going to have that with our soup too. You can definitely use that to eat with your soup. And now you've got your bowl here, which is kind of hollowed out a little in the middle here. And I've got a tray. And I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on the top of it. And I've got my oven preheating up to a broil. And we're going to put just a little bit of olive oil on the outside of it. And then I've got some garlic salt here, and it's got a little bit of parsley in it, and we're going to kind of sprinkle that around on there and give that a nice little coating. Now we're going to put this in the oven, and you do not want to leave this in there because this will take just a few minutes. If you got it up on broil, definitely keep a watch on it, because all we're doing at this point is we want to kind of crisp up that crust on the outside of that bread just a little bit. Pop this in the oven and I'll be right back and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, I am back and we've got our bread bowl here ready to serve up with our nice soup that we've made, and I wanted to show you what that bread bowl looked like. That just gave it a nice crisp on the outside and gave a little bit of that flavor with that garlic salt and those extra seasonings in that. So that's just something a little extra you can do if you'd like. Or you can just serve it up into a bowl, however you want to, if you don't want to use the bread itself. So, and like I said, you can put it into your bread bowl just like that. And then if you want to, you can put some more of your broccoli on the top of it, or you can put just a little bit of the cheese on the top to kind of garnish it. And that's one way to do it. You can always just put it into a bowl and you'll be ready to eat. So let's give this a taste and see what this looks like. Look how nice and decadent this soup looks. It's nice and thick and rich. That is absolutely delicious. that cheese, that broccoli is to the right consistency. The seasonings I put in it are absolutely perfect. I know you're going to love this recipe. And if you like this content, maybe you might consider giving me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And check out one of these other 2 videos over here on the side. You might find something else you like. Leave me a note in the comment if you tried this recipe, what you think about it. Or if you've made broccoli cheddar soup before, what did you do different to yours? I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video. Try this soup. I know you're going to love it. Bye-bye now.